What's up, everybody? Fallout here, joined with a legend in the basketball and Apex Legends scene. It is the one and only Grayson Allen, professional basketball player for the Milwaukee Bucks now. We're going to get into that. Also an Apex Legends Predator player on PC. Grayson, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Doing well. Appreciate you taking the time to chat, dude. I've been looking forward to this one for a while. But for those that maybe don't know who you are, I gave you a high-level introduction. Do a quick intro for us.
So I am an NBA player for the Milwaukee Bucks. Now I'm in my fourth season in the league on a new team. Really looking forward to this season playing for a contender. Before that, I played college at Duke University for 4 years and graduated from there. I've always been a huge gamer. I have been as long as I can remember. But really, I really started to get into it around 8th grade, I want to say, maybe a little bit before that. Halo 3 and Call of Duty World at War were the two big first-person shooters that I really, really got into. Like, legitimately couldn't put down the controller. Would just play those all the time. So that's what kind of got my real passion for video games started.
That's awesome. I love the background in Halo and Call of Duty, by the way, because it's near and dear to my heart. Did you watch competitive Halo back then, or were you just kind of playing online, playing casually?
I did a little bit. So like I recognize Snipedown's name like in the Apex community, but I wasn't. I wish I would have watched it more because now I'm so much more interested in competitive esports than I was back then. So
yeah. Well, the good news is I'm sure you saw some of the Halo Infinite esports announcements. We got a little bit of Halo action coming up, and then of course Apex. It's been good to have you involved in Apex Legends. Let's talk about that. So what is it about Apex that made you fall in love with the game?
Yeah, Apex is definitely my main title. When the whole BR craze started a few years ago, obviously with Fortnite kicking it off, I couldn't find one that I liked. I just wasn't a fan of the game mode. And then I had a friend come over and tell me he had been playing a lot of Apex. This was around, I think, season 2 of Apex. So I tried it out, and it just felt a lot better. It felt faster paced. It felt like there was more potential to do stuff in the game. And so I quickly went from, that to really falling in love with the game and exploring all the ins and outs of different movement, learning all the different stuff you can do in the game. And Apex definitely has me hooked right now. It's for sure my favorite title.
That's awesome. And I remember early on when you started playing Apex, and I could tell you got hooked at the beginning. I actually jumped into one of your streams, and I was shocked when you were like, dude, Fallout from the Krakow Invitational and the preseason, the Poland tournament. So you started watching the tournaments, you started watching the pro players play, but you were like a bronze silver player then, I think, because you didn't start right away when Apex came out, right? So you tell me about your come up and your grind and what it took to get to Predator.
Yeah, so I was playing on Xbox when I first started, and then like end of season 3, maybe early season 4 is when I switched over to PC. And then that first season, I just really started grinding and started playing ranked a lot more. And then that's when I found some really good teammates, and I got hard carried to Masters, like very hard carried. And so once I kind of got there and started playing in the more competitive lobby, I started to get more comfortable. The next season I made it to Masters again. And I didn't feel like I was as hard of carried that time. And then so I actually had it was lined up perfectly during the off season. I think it was season 5 is when I made Pred both splits. So I was streaming like 6-hour days that summer, that during the off season there. I'd work out in the morning,
Crazy.
come back, stream Apex, and grind Apex. So both those splits I made Pred, and then I've made it, I think, 2 other splits since then. But that was there was a lot of growth there because at first, man, I had no idea what I was doing. I was just getting fried.
It's hilarious. Props, dude. That's been impressive to see you come up. You mentioned during the off seasons when you were really able to grind, which obviously makes sense. You're not on the road. You're not playing on a laptop in a hotel room or whatever it might be. Yeah. Are there any other basketball players that play Apex that are decent or nice, or is it really just you?
Jimmy Ojale, he plays a good amount of Apex. He's still more of a Warzone guy. He's a good gamer, and he's a big gamer too. I actually stream some too, so he's pretty good.
You recently hosted the inaugural Grayson Allen Invitational, a $15,000 tournament where every major NA pro player, streamer played and competed. You had a chance to compete yourself.
It was a long time in the making, and it's actually, I didn't originally mean for it to be this just top pro teams from all around. But as I started messaging people on Twitter and asking and getting some names, that kind of just what it fell into. And we had 19 teams that were invited. There was no rules on team makeups, so it was basically full comp teams that were in it. The 20th team was selected through a competition with Protégé where people submitted their clips, and the best clip basically qualified. So the guy who qualified, he goes by the name Gunch in game. He ended up submitting the best clip, and so he was able to be the 20th team and select his two teammates, which he ended up selecting me and one of his other friends. So I ended up competing in it, which I wasn't expecting to. We had a few, I think we had 4 or 5 teams that were kind of last minute additions that are all I'll just say non-NA teams from other countries that ended up wanting to play in the tournament. So that was amazing for the showing. We had 10 different countries represented in the tournament, which is absolutely incredible.
I got to ask you, are we going to see more Grayson Allen Invitationals, or what's next? What's the future looking like in terms of at least that event for now?
100% there's going to be more. I would love to have another one right away. So hopefully I can get something done during the season, which is going to be a lot tougher. If I can't, I'll wait till after the season to get another one done. Plan for the next one is to just figure out how I can make it bigger and better. It's not going to stop at one, and hopefully it's 20 of them.
Are there any parallels between pro gaming and professional sports? We'd love to hear your perspective on that.
Well, there's definitely similarities. I mean, the mental toughness and stamina that pro gamers have, I think, is something that people don't realize. Like this, the guys are competing 6, 7, 8 hours at a time, and the intensity of those games is on another level. And so to be that focused, that locked in, especially in a battle royale game where you have to one mistake and you're out. So those kind of games take an insane amount of focus, and for these guys to be able to sustain that for hours a day, especially when they're competing against other pro teams, is incredible. And it's something that I think that, for the NBA, we have to do it for 3 hours at a time during a game, maybe 2 hours, but it's really a 48-minute game. So those guys, from a mental side, their stamina is on a completely other level, and so that's something I've come to respect from gamers.
Where do you go from here in gaming? Obviously you've streamed, your Twitch is starting to blow up, you're an Apex Predator in terms of rank, you've hit that milestone. What's next for Grayson Allen in gaming?
I think the next thing is to try to continue streaming, continue connecting with the community I've built through streaming. I think there's so many possibilities to go from here, whether it's having my own pro team that I signed for Apex. I'm not talking about me competing, but signing some people better than me to compete, or joining another one. There's so much more that I want to do in the gaming space, and so hopefully this tournament is just a kickoff for the rest of it.
So there's tons of people around the world that look up to you, NBA fans of the Milwaukee Bucks, or maybe the Memphis Grizzlies before then. Are there any streamers or pro players that you look up to in particular?
Yeah, there is. So I mean, there's a ton of Apex streamers that I watch pretty consistently. Snipedown has become one of them. Nicewig is probably the first guy I was watching that truly got me into consistently watching a Twitch streamer play.
Awesome.
Mainly just because he was on controller, and he was early on, there weren't a lot of controller players competing professionally in Apex. So he was, I want to say, the originator, and kind of holding it down. And someone like me who has a competitive mind, and I talk about starting off in the game and being hard carried, I wanted to find out how to not be hard carried. So when I'm watching someone like that who plays with the same input as I do, it makes me feel like I could replicate what he's doing out there. So now I watch a lot of the controller guys. Snipe Down, Wig, and I'd say Jin Burton are probably the top three controller players I watch. Anytime it's tournament time, I'm watching Hal. Um, and then back when Ace used to play Apex consistently, and there's nothing like watching Ace drop in on some pubs and just go to work.
So you mentioned during tournament time you're watching Hal. Do you tune in to every ALGS event, most ALGS events, or would you consider yourself a fan of competitive Apex?
Yeah, I do. I think it's extremely entertaining. Like I was just watching the last qualifiers the other night. It gets so like heated at the end of those games. It's so intense and so entertaining to watch. So I find genuine entertainment value out of it now. It's not just learning to try to, make myself a better Apex player. Now it's genuine entertainment of watching comps. So most of the time there's any big tournament going on, if I'm sitting not doing anything, I'm trying to tune in and watch.
That's awesome. There's only one correct answer to this question. Who's your favorite caster in the ALGS?
I think it's a Fallout.
That's my boy, Grayson. I love to hear it. No, I'm just playing, man. Any chance that we'll see you competing and trying to qualify for the ALGS in the future?
There's a big chance. So I actually was very, very close to playing in the qualifiers this past weekend, but the first day, Saturday, this is like weekend going into training camp. So would not have been a good weekend to try to carve out 9 hours during the day to try to qualify.
Thanks so much again for your time, dude. I really appreciate you taking the time. Any final words, any final shout outs for those watching?
No, just another huge shout out to the sponsors for my invitational, Turtle Beach, Protege, Built, and then also to eFuse who helped organize and put everything on. And only other thing is a plug for myself. Follow me on Twitch, Grayson J. Allen.
And wish you the best of luck on the court and in the season. Of course, after that in Apex as well. Thanks again, dude.
Thank you. Appreciate it.